Today, more than 3 million users worldwide access the 1xBet platform. Our clients bet on football, basketball, boxing, and many other sports. New players can count on a 300% deposit increase. And if you enter the promo code G122, the first deposit amount will increase by another 30%. Winnings can be quickly withdrawn using Visa, MasterCard, Airtel, Tigo Money, and Vodafone payment systems. Don't forget about the prizes. 1xBet regularly raffles smartphones, laptops, and cars. So sign up to find out more. 1xBet, feel like a winner.
All right then. So Ray.
Yeah. Now let's understand this quite well. Chiefs are relevant to Ghana's development, right from pre-colonial, during colonial, and post-colonial times. Their roles changed. They used to run the various units. Sometimes they fought wars and expanded territories. There are ethnic groups in Ghana that are so proud of their history because of the kind of chiefs they had in times past. If you like check, the history of ethnic groups are mostly built around certain chiefs and their roles. And the very roles they played in either fighting colonial masters and all of that. Even the 1948 routes. Prior to that, the routes had chiefs playing important roles in there. So at every stage in our life, we cannot do away with what has been the conversation about chiefs. Of course, even before the colonial masters left, there are areas that they cause trouble with chieftaincy disputes. But today, people are increasingly questioning the role of the chiefs in our current system. Yes, they play some customary roles. Sometimes they resolve conflicts, and in some areas, without them, there will be major conflicts. But the institution itself has also been a source of conflict. We know that people who are unqualified for certain roles fight for it because they have money. Sometimes with politicians and others supporting them, we remove and install chiefs and have protracted conflicts in these areas for a very long time. I remember the National Peace Council did a very mapping of conflict areas in this country, and a chunk of the conflicts in various communities were related to chieftaincy conflicts. And tied to that was also the land problem. More recently, the role of chiefs in either aiding or abetting this galamsey menace has also come to the fore. I mean, sometimes you don't even think that the chiefs represent the people. Chiefs can go meet the president. The things they are saying, if you did a survey in the community, and people heavily disagree. Yeah, I hope you're getting my point. So increasingly, it's becoming a bit problematic. Can the chiefs still play the roles they are playing in the modern society? Let's not get it wrong. Customary law is part of our laws in this country. So respecting the institution is rarely required. But do they still play the same role? Are they as relevant as they used to be previously? So if a chief says that me, Raymond Dakwa, I'm not allowed to go to, say, the Upper East region because he controls an area of it, should I listen to it? Would it be unlawful? Can he control that space? If a chief is sending a delegation to go and try to talk to a judge, you get my point. What can we do in that space? If people feel that they are not being represented enough by the chief, mindful of the fact that it's not as democratic as it used to be. This reminds me, I wrote an essay for Ransford Jampo, trying to defend the chieftaincy institution as a democratic one. Oh, Professor Jampo marked me down. I disagree, but still, he said, "Oh,
you argued that chieftaincy was democratic."
Yes.
Hey.
I wanted to exuberance. I was going against the tide, but
we've all been there.
Yeah, but you think about it this way: is the institution reforming, improving? Is it still relevant to the conversation you have today? Fifi, does he connect with any chief in Ghana today? Does he care? His hometown. See, they tell me all the time that on my mother's side, we are in an Oyoko family in Gabon. The Oyoko is the royal family in Gabon. But in all fairness, I do not feel that that's one of the things I wake up thinking about as the relevant issues of importance to me today. Do you get my point? So, are we having an institution that will live through other times and be part of what's happening? Let's not get it wrong. Even in the UK, there's an ever-present conversation about the relevance of the monarchy and the royal family. Why should public funds be given to them? Why should we ever? You remember when chiefs were giving cars in this country? Yeah, some four-wheel drives. It became a big topic. Why are they deserving of anything like that? Why is the National House of Chiefs even relevant today? So these conversations won't go away because we are consistently in an evolving society questioning sources of power. Because also how they are used either for the good of the society or against the good of society. Recently, some people had cause to highlight how some chiefs are neck deep in the Galamsey menace. Any chief who is a custodian of the land should not be seen, or even be the one fighting it. But how is it relevant today? Is it possible in this AI world that the next 20, 30 years, people will dismiss the institution completely? They may not distill chiefs and remove their palaces and anything, but they will make them almost irrelevant in any conversation. That nobody goes to a chief to pay homage or do anything relevant in the customs of the country. Will they happen? Are the current happenings an indication? Do we need to reform the chieftaincy institution in tune with modern times? I mean, to most young people, these are some of the questions that come to mind all the time.
Well, you see, I mean, I can agree with you on all the points that you've made. But of course, we've also seen chiefs today who have become development agents.
Yeah.
Well, look, so it's not all about, these chiefs sitting back and causing problems. Of course, we have chiefs who have caused problems. But we have seen chiefs that have become development agents. We've seen the Asantehene setting up schemes. You've seen the Otunfo Educational Trust Fund and everything, which has been helping people, get access to education. I've seen Nana Kobnan doing a lot of things. He set up, team up with people. They've set up museums to actually promote our culture. And these museums that have been set up even contribute, for instance, to the generation of funds or revenue for that particular area. You've seen chiefs engaging in other activities just to ensure that, the development of their communities are enhanced. But of course, as a people, and you make a point, as a people, the question is, do we see that institution as relevant? Our constitution does not seem to suggest that we see the chieftaincy institution as very relevant. Apart from its recognition, really, not much is out of the institution again. Now, of course, there's the president of the National House of Chiefs, who is a member of the Council of State. Okay. We also know that today, the chairman of the Council of State is a chief.
Yes.
We've had instances where some members of the Council of State are chiefs. That in itself is an indication of how we revere our chiefs and even how the political leaders respect that institution. That's our chieftaincy institution. But there's another challenge. We've seen, for instance, even politicians trying to interfere with the institution, and some people allowing the politicians to interfere with the institution. Now, the moment politicians begin to interfere with an institution, and that would, for instance, manipulate kingmakers and have their choice becoming chiefs or kings, that in itself defeats the very reason for which the institution was set up. Because this is supposed to be an institution respected and revered by all. And that is why the Constitution says it should be non-partisan.
Are we allowed, are we allowed to think that in a modern state, some people have the God-given right to rule, which is what really underpins chieftaincy, right? The just merely because you were born to a certain lineage, you have a right to rule. Are we allowed to think that? So you don't have to necessarily have any extraordinary qualification, right? You might not be the smartest. You might not be even a man of general appeal. That if were elections today, you will be at the bottom. Are we allowed to think merely because it's either your people fought good wars, or they were the ones who were able to garner a lot more wealth, or they were the ones who arrived first? You have a right of access and control. Those are questions that are still relevant in the current conversation, because that's, to most chiefs, that's how they claim their lineage and competence and their right to rule.
The fundamental question we have to ask ourselves is, how does chieftaincy sit alongside democracy? We've seen monarchies in other parts of the world when the attempt is made to combine them with democracy, we've seen how they've clashed. We've seen how one has lost its position, its place, its relevance in comparison to the other. And in Ghana, we have attempted to do the same thing, even though it hasn't worked anywhere else. So, I mean, every part of the world where democracy is inching out monarchy. Today, the conversation is about when to end it, not whether to end it or not, but when. They are all on their way out. But here in Ghana, we've decided that, I don't know, fefe nefe, it's nice. So we want to maintain it. But how does a system of governance where leaders are chosen either by blood lineage or by conflict, how does it sit next to democracy? How does it fit in? How can we avoid it simply becoming a complete, what's the word I'm looking for? Figurehead, a complete, shell of an institution. Today, my chief in Gumwodena, what authority does he have over me? Which of his directives or edicts or whatever he's allowed to pass affect my daily life? But on the flip side,
and sometimes conflict. Just 1 second. Chiefs have sought to give directives which are quite dangerous in this country. Shut down radio stations. Don't come to this part of the country. You are banned. In fact, big directives, which confronts the constitution in a very terrible way.
I was coming to that.
Yeah.
Because much as my chief in Gumwodena's directives don't affect my daily life, the Gamanche can announce a ban on drumming and dancing. And somehow that will affect me. Because in a weird way, we kind of suspend the constitution a little bit so that the chief can show some power that the law doesn't give him. I mean, seriously. The law doesn't give any chief the power to stop me from drumming or dancing on a particular day. But we somehow decide to allow it to stand as if it is a law. There are press releases to that effect at the time when they want to ban drumming and dancing, and we all go along with it.
And if this is adopted by, let's say, legislative institutions of state, like, for example, if the AMA says that we are shutting down business in Accra for this and that purpose, you would think that's gone through a certain process,
Even
which
then,
gives
there
it
has
back
to be something democratic about it.
Yes,
I mean,
because our representatives would have voted at the assembly and agreed to that. The problem is that we wish these conversations away because we don't want to confront them. They are uncomfortable. On one hand, we are afraid of a certain power they wield. On the other hand, imagine somebody saying that you, Kojo Jansen, merely because you said this or that, you cannot come to a part of the country. Let's say you cannot go to Upper East. Then you are not allowed. Even if you fly in there, we will not allow you walk on our lands because he says he's custodian. He owns the place. But how does that sit with a constitutional right to be Ghanaian? Which is what we have
in all parts of Ghana.
Yes. And some of these things, sometimes we manage it. So at best, a national security team will go and plead with the chief on your behalf. You'll also be sent in the form of a delegation to go and help out. But where do we draw the line? So there's a very despotic chief who comes up, who says, I wield all my powers. You are my slave. Winston, historically, you are supposed to be my slave. I'm not saying you are the way it's not. Historically, you're supposed to be my slave. I'll treat you as such. Imagine in modern day form, another person calling the other my slave, seeking among the other things to treat you as such. Or some of the long-held misconceptions about certain people being fomented by an institution that's supposed to have more of the regular forms. I mean, I'm not sure whether we have deliberately sought out a process which will churn out only the best of our people as chiefs.
Raymond, let's get on to the phone lines because we're joined by the Omahini of Achimbosome, Okuchensio Kantamanto Orai Ejekum the third, who's joined as Vafun. You'll be telling us, his thoughts and perspectives about the conversation we're having. You've asked a question today: is the chieftaincy institution still relevant? You've asked a question: why should somebody by virtue of his lineage, as in the blood that runs through him, be given leadership position in this democratic Ghana? Nana, good morning, and thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning, gentlemen.
I hope you're doing very well. So, Nana, we've been having this conversation about chieftaincy and its relevance today. Lots of questions have been asked. For instance, whether today many people even identify with the institution, and whether people would still support even the mode of selecting or choosing chiefs. How come, for instance, should one become a leader in the traditional sense just because he comes from a certain lineage or has a kind of blood running through him? What's your view on all these?
Well, gentlemen, thank you for asking these questions. They are questions that I myself have asked in the course of my being a chief. And with regards to the question you've posed, why one should become a leader just because of one's lineage or one's birth, that is a question that ideally should be posed to the population, the community that that person emanates from. If one sits down carefully, looks at the process for the selection, the nomination, the installation, the making of a chief, one would realize that it is a democratic process. It might not be a Westminster-style process, but it is certainly a democratic and a representative process, because it is the people in that community that act to select, nominate, and install a chief. It is the people in that community that endorse it and supports it. Yes, chieftaincy is under a lot of pressure, but deep down, people in communities spread all over Ghana identify with and, in one way or another, support the institution of chieftaincy. That makes it clear that there is still an interest and a demand for chieftaincy, notwithstanding the problems that we have. What we need to do is to find a way to resolve those problems that keep coming up and interfering with the institution of chieftaincy. But all in all, Ghanaians, people in various ethnic groupings and in various settlements all over Ghana are still interested in chieftaincy.
Nana, I think you're right. We consider chieftaincy to be a part of our identity, as many other countries might consider their monarchies to be a part of their identity. But we have seen how, in practical terms, monarchies are being rendered irrelevant when they are put alongside democracies, because the two systems simply, they haven't figured out how to make the two of them work effectively alongside each other. Is there a way to do that in Ghana?
I believe there is, but I would want to correct a statement you made just now, that when monarchies are put alongside democracies, monarchies being put alongside democracies, monarchies in themselves, or perhaps I should be more specific in saying Western-style monarchies in themselves, are representative of the will and interest of part of the community. So we should be careful when making comparisons between monarchies and Westminster-style democracies. Now, coming back to the core of the question, there is no reason why monarchies, or to be specific, our traditional governance systems cannot work side by side with the Westminster-style democracies that we've adopted. The challenges are in persons that I would refer to as misadventurers, who only see the glory side of chieftaincy, who only see the adulation and want to mimic that. And that's what brings about a lot of chieftaincy disputes that we have in our side of the world. The challenges of people seeking for resources, resource plunder, that's another factor that brings. So in and of itself, chieftaincy or African traditional governance systems are not the problem, but it is the challenges that they face in this modern world and an inability to reconcile with those challenges that bring about a lot of this conflict. I hope I'm making sense in what I'm saying.
Yes, I think I get the point you're making. So I guess the next question then would be, how do we reconcile these challenges?
Reconciliation would have to come from education, lots more education. The traditional governance systems have to be more transparent. We need less opacity. Education, reaching out to the people, becoming more community friendly, I would say.
Perhaps we should start from the point of even identifying these challenges. From your perspective, what would you say are the major challenges faced by chieftaincy here in Ghana?
Here in Ghana, I would say, again, resource plunder. When some well-heeled, financially resourced people discover that there is a resource in a particular community, there is a tendency to want to acquire and obtain those resources from themselves. And any entity that comes into contact with them that appears to be an obstacle has to be subdued. And usually historically that has come in the form of chieftaincy. If we go back, not too far back, a couple of centuries back, to the Crown Lands Bill that the British government tried to impose on the Gold Coast colony, tried to claim every piece of open land for Queen Victoria. That is an example of how Nananum organized and resisted that. So basically a lot of it comes from resources and resource plunder. You are blessed with resources, but then it becomes a curse. That is one thing. Then recently there is political interference. Politicians realizing the attraction and the influence of chieftaincy seek to infiltrate various chieftaincy institutions in order to be able to associate with them, and they inject a lot of discord as well into the chieftaincies, and basically politicians trying to capture the of chieftaincy.
So resource plunder and political interference. How would education combat these challenges?
Well, education would make people much more aware of what the core values of chieftaincy is. Education would help to make people much more open-minded, to be able to understand that there is much more to life than just politics. There is much more to life than just resource plunder. People will be able to examine the institution for what it had been and what it has become today, and to be able to, arrive at a position that makes them comfortable with the institution.
So, what would be the process? How would we go about using education to fix this? I mean, bearing in mind that we would still be choosing our chiefs through lineage, blood, or conflict. How would we then sort of educate our way to chiefs playing a more impactful role in society?
Well, I think a lot of that responsibility falls on chiefs themselves. Chiefs have to be able to organize, assemble, present information about chieftaincy to the population, to become less opaque about it, to let people understand that in and of itself, the institution is not something harmful, that it is benign, that there are so many aspects of it in the physical, in the spiritual, the ability to organize communities, the ability to seek out people's welfare, to provide all sorts of protection and safety nets for its people, to be able to pull the population closer to the institution. Education, and all forms of education, but at the core of it is the willingness of chiefs to open up the institution without foregoing the core principles of it. I think a middle ground can be found there. It's quite a task, but a middle ground can be found.
Okay, and so someone just sent me a message and says, so today we know the position of the Constitution recognizing chiefs. We know all the other challenges that have been associated with the institution. The question for many Ghanaians is, what does the institution do today? What do chiefs do in our lives today?
Okay, well, let me give you an example. This is something I've often heard from Osagyefo Amwetio for Repenning. There are about 46,000 delineated communities, settlements in Ghana today. Out of those 46,000, central government has a presence in only about 12,000 of them. The rest, the balance of those communities are governed in one form or other. Law and order is maintained in one form or other by chiefs. So that is just one simple aspect of what chiefs do. Chiefs do a lot of work, but most of the time it's under the radar. It is not glamorous. So people do not necessarily see the contributions that chiefs make, but chiefs do make considerable contributions, disseminate information, push government policies, organize their communities in self-help programs. It's numerous. It's quite numerous.
Now, today there's a conversation about how the Constitution limits the role and relevance of chiefs in Ghana. Would you want a clearly defined role beyond just a recognition of the institution?
There has to be a defined role, particularly when it comes to local governance. It's as if we are duplicating, the local governance system is duplicating what chiefs have been doing forever. But a way has to be found where chiefs can be formally involved in local governance and building up those local governance institutions, school boards, sanitation, planning of the communities even. It's not beyond our intelligence, it's not beyond our capability as a people to be able to find a meaningful role to fill those gaps that pop up in the local governance systems and assign chiefs a formal role in that.
So, let me ask you this. At the moment, whatever power a chief wields, whatever order a chief gives, no citizen is under any constitutional compunction to obey. So, how sustainable is the authority that a chief, wields? I gave an example earlier of, for example, a ban on drumming and dancing in the Greater Accra region. We seem to all go by it, but there's nothing in the Constitution that says that a chief can stop me from drumming and dancing whenever I wish to, as long as I am doing it within the confines of the law. So how sustainable is it, the power that chiefs supposedly wield?
Well, it is as sustainable as the willingness of a people to behave themselves, to comport themselves, to have order in their society. The Constitution does not compel anybody from misbehaving, but if you're to take the view that, well, there's no restriction with regards to my behavior from the Constitution, then I will do whatever it is I want. That also will not be a good way to build a community, to build a nation.
Great. Now, finally, would the institution stand the test of time? Let's say in 40, 50 years from now, would we still have the chieftaincy institution play the kind of roles it's playing today in an AI world?
I believe that we will. The institution will evolve. It will evolve to be able to survive the test of time. So it will exist 50 years from now in one form or another. But as to whether it would exist as a benign, constructive, capable partner of the community, or it will exist in adversity with the community, is another thing altogether. But it will evolve. We just hope that it will evolve for the better.
Nana, thank you very, very much for joining us this morning. We're grateful. We know that you had other engagements and made time to speak to us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, too. You're welcome.
Right, so that's Okutrensu Kantamanto Orai Ejekum III, Amahene of Achim Bosome traditional area. Stay with us. We'll be right back after these messages.
Imagine running a business with 24/7 dedicated internet as well as calls to both local and international corporate clients at very affordable prices. Whatever your objectives, Airtel Tigo Business can help you through services like FlexiNet mobile broadband among others. Call us at 0577 555 000 or email us at business@airteltigo.com.gh. Airtel Tigo Business, your total business solutions provider.
Buying a land or a house in Ghana just got easy with Fame Real Estate. Look, we've got registered lands and houses at Spintex, Lashibi, Domi Pelatu, Shine Hills, Pram Pram, Ebri, Dawa, and even at Meduma in Kumasi. In fact, we are offering up to 50% discount on all our lands. So what are you waiting for? Call us right now on 0554 156443 or 0302 958775. Fame Real Estate, building legacy.
There's something special happening at Heritage Christian College. Their bustling campus is right in the heart of Amasaman, just behind the Olympic Stadium, and it will amaze you what they are doing there. Heritage Christian College is churning out academic excellence with their comprehensive range of degrees, including Bachelor of Business Administration programs, IT, and theology. Don't forget to ask about their professional programs and short courses. What makes Heritage special? Heritage Christian College takes the academic experience further than ever with one laptop per student, flexible fee payment, entrepreneurial training with financial support, all delivered by a caring faculty working to develop your character and your intellect. Admissions are in progress, so call today on 054 7777 731 and get accepted. For more information, go to hcuc.edu.gh. Heritage Christian College, a university educating compassionate entrepreneurs. Leaders.
We shouldn't have gone to that party.
Masa, my head is killing me. Is that your stomach?
Yes.
What did you eat?
I don't know. Get rid of your gastric problems with number 10 liver salt. Number 10 gives you quick, effective relief from nausea, indigestion, heartburns, hangovers, and hyperacidity. And with different fruity flavors such as orange and lemon, it's a pretty tasty way to end an uncomfortable situation. Number 10 liver salt from Ernest Chemist, because everyone needs a chemist.
This advert has been vetted and approved by FDA. Imagine you had the power to impact the world around you. At the British Council, we see students from all over the globe coming together for equality of education that achieves goals. An IELTS test from the British Council can help you own your future. For a limited time only, when you book IELTS with British Council, you will get our most popular preparation course, Road to IELTS Premium, for free. Valued at $80, Road to IELTS Premium gives you all the material you need to get a great IELTS score. Visit the British Council website today.
Someone smells great here. And fresh, my love. I wish I could stay in the shower all day. I know, right? Nothing beats a bath with geisha soap. It smells so good, it lasts long, and it's enriched with natural ingredients that work wonders for my skin.
And it now comes with a fresh new look, giving us even more reasons to love our geisha bar.
New and improved geisha soap. Great new look, better fragrance, same natural ingredients, still all last month. This advert is FDA approved.
Be strong and last long. Like geisha.
Charlie, whatever you do with your data, do it twice because Vodafone is giving you double data in the Vodafone Too Much Family Package with a top-up of only 120 Ghana cedis in addition to your monthly Vodafone fixed broadband subscription. You will get twice the data for twice the fun and experience. 100% bonus data for your broadband is exactly what Vodafone fixed broadband is giving you. This means it's double the experience when you browse, stream, and download. Yes, you heard right. 100% bonus data with just 120 Ghana cedis top up. That's what double data gets you in the Vodafone Too Much Family Package. Dial *900# and follow the prompt to subscribe, or visit fbb.vodafone.com.gh or top up on your My Vodafone app.
Vodafone, further together.
Coffee in your cup and Joy on the set. The Super Morning Show is always the best bet on Joy 99.7 FM.
Okay, and I think you're welcome back. We've got some very interesting conversation going already on chieftaincy and its relevance. I've also got a bit of education here. So there is something in the Constitution that gives some backing to certain traditional jurisdictions. It's called customary law. And Article 11 recognizes some customary law in the Constitution. Thank you for that, Samson Ladi Anyanini, who sent that one in. And of course, our conversation continues. This is the point at which we'd love to hear your thoughts on this conversation. Look, how relevant is the chieftaincy institution today to our society, and how can we make it even more relevant going into the future? How can we make it play a better role in the development of our nation? What should we be doing? Should we be giving more powers to chiefs? Should we be looking at how chiefs are selected or elected, or, well, they are not elected at the moment, chosen? Should we be looking at how people become chiefs? Should we be looking at the gender inequality, the fact that a woman can only be a queen mother but not a chief? What could we do that would make chieftaincy better and serve us better?
There was a time that the United Kingdom made a decision. There was an act of parliament specifically chose that, it was only the male sons that were actually in line, right? Said, no, we have removed the barrier. If a female happens to be the next in line, you do not necessarily have to skip the female and go and choose a male. That is really part of the issues that were being brought on board. So I suspect it will reach a point that we will have strict rules, like Dr. Dana said they will do, properly set out. See, today you can drive down the 40 people in line in the UK. In my hometown today, I cannot determine which people are in line, because a lot of processes will go through if the current chief dies. You get my point. Paramount chief is gone. They have to go and do a lot of lobbying. They are looking through. They are doing negotiations. Then they come out with a new person. That lends itself to some difficulty, possibility of corruption and all of that. Ends up in court. A chieftaincy dispute bills. There's a land dispute that's connected to that. See some of the disputes are just treacherous. Deliberately, it is unconscionable for any custodian of any land anywhere to sell the land or lease it to two people knowingly, deliberately, cause a certain kind of dispute. One will pull out, then the other ends up taking it up. But the chiefs benefit all the time. They get money from both sides. Sometimes they even want the case to go to court. Then another grouping purporting to be from another chieftaincy institution will come to you and come and demand land from you. And it is happening all across the country. Some of them are doing it with blatant disrespect for everything, and I'm so convinced there's no customary law in this country that supports that. That a chief can be this what they call it, unreasonable in their affairs. You think about how they also manage some of the things that we leave in their hands, for example. So a grouping knows that there is a small part of the royalties that come to the chiefs or to that area. Accountability for the money. I know some that are tried. Oh, come on! If you don't take care, you either get those blanket bans or you are ostracized one way or the other. In the 21st century, i.e., they would insist that you can't attend any funeral here. Some even insist that you cannot even step foot in your own hometown.
Yep.
A land.
They'll banish you.
Yes, a land in the Republic of Ghana. But of course, there are also some chiefs that are very developmental oriented, that are very forthright in their thinking. They are so proper in the way they go about their things that you think that because of them, we should expand the powers of chiefs. Yeah. We should give them more control. We should even bring them to the formal political system because they end up solving problems. Yeah. So we are unsure whether we are taking the bad nuts as the problem, or we are looking to reflect on the good ones. And you see, this one, it's not structures we are put in place. It is the individuals that end up being right.
Yeah.
So do we have structures that ensure that we only churn out the right chiefs?
But you have to ask yourself, if you have a system where, things will go good if you put a good person there.
Yeah.
But otherwise, things will go bad. Then is the problem with the people or with the system, right? Is it the system that you need to tweak? Because you can't, how do you, it's something that is choosing people through blood, lineage, and conflict. How can you rely on it to pick good people every time?
Yeah.
How can you be sure that every chief chosen across the country will be an Otumfo or an Osajefo or an Ojiahoho, the chiefs that we recognize to be good?
Yeah.
How can you be sure that every chief chosen, even in the Asante kingdom itself, how can you be sure that the next king will be as good as the last one?
If I don't even go far, the Otumfo himself talked about how some chiefs are aiding Galamsey.
Indeed.
How he's going to remove them.
Indeed.
If any chief who's a custodian of the land, whose responsibility ultimately is to make sure that what his great grandfathers fought for is where it is the guy plundering and destroying water bodies, destroying the land, that guy is not qualified to be chief.
So if we have to rely on the goodness of the people we choose, their own decision to be good, if we have to rely on that for chieftaincy to work, then chieftaincy is the problem.
Yeah, that structurally.
Right.
But you see, Kojo, some of them have also inbuilt structures. Like, for example, even though 4 of us are qualified as children to actually be chiefs, they are now going to have a group review the 4 of us. If the group does not take bribe, if the group does not do other considerations, the presumption is that out of the 4, we think that Kojo is the best one. Because we know in his private life, Kojo does not take bribe. Kojo is decent enough. Kojo has the interest of the people at heart. I hope you get my point. So there are some of these safeguards that's supposed to churn out the best, but sometimes that also becomes a problem because as is established elsewhere, when you are in line, you are in line. Here, you being in line might be subject to other forms of review. So be it financial controls. So the guy is rich. He just came back from a country and he has amassed so much wealth. The guy has political connections. And he doesn't belong to a political party. I'm not so sure whether his pronouncements will suit us, mindful of how relevant this place is and the tendency to influence a large group of people. So we will not give it to him. The case, if we are lucky, ends up in court. Again, there is even a bigger one. Check the major conflicts we've had across the country. The more recent ones, I don't even mention the town. There are chieftaincy conflicts. Check how merely because a group said we wanted to bring on board a new chief, the entire state was all over the place. If it is not contributing to the good of society, we cannot pretend that, because why? Nothing is more important than the unity, than the stability of the state. Those entities are supposed to be where we have our system being maintained. Politics is divisive, so a chieftaincy structure will make it less divisive. In fact, the British say that the soul of Britain is with the monarchy. So whenever politics is dividing the people, they look to one source. That's why they elevate it above politics. Are we sure we can elevate our chieftaincy structures above politics in this country? Some chiefs openly declare that yes, I think that Kojoyansi will be the next president. And that Kojoyansi being the next president, he has done a very good job. When everybody knows that the road to the town, every single amenity in the town is not provided, the guy looks into the face of everybody at a play, mainly because he has received snaps and other things, to just pronounce and say things that so who is he representing? The dead people or the living? Or quite frankly, because you represent that group, you are representing the dead, you are representing the living and the future of your people. But none of them are important to you, that his pecuniary interest at the time. How is he then their representative? Precisely. But these are difficult questions, because you see, when you say too much, the presumption is that you are attacking the institution, and it cannot be. And even it cannot be that when you are from the Dua family, connected to royal family, you can be saying some of these things. But the truth is that it is causing harm across the country. It is destroying human lives. It is destroying the fiber of society. Some places, and I will not mince words, an MP told me that, see, nurses are leaving my town because of chieftaincy conflict. Nurses are leaving my town. Nobody wants to take up appointments there. So pregnant women can't get places to give birth. It's not as if there are no hospitals, so the institutions are there, the buildings are there. They maybe have facilities, but the people are not taking up the appointments there because of chieftaincy conflicts. If what is supposed to keep us united becomes the force that is dividing us, a second look or identification for correction. And you see, because it's chieftaincy, sometimes even politics cannot properly intervene. If you don't take care, you might be thought of attaching yourself to one side. Even security grouping. There are places in this country that a criminal is arrested, prosecuted, or going through prosecution. Let's say a suspect. A chief can give the order, oh, he's my nephew, he's my grandson, let him go. How is that promoting any goodness in the society?
All right, a lot to think about. But we've got yet another important conversation to discuss. Now, you remember I told you that story about the 3 people who stole a goat, went to eat it in the forest, came out, first person saw the palm wine seller and said, let me buy some of your palm wine to drink onto my good meal. And the second guy said, are we not the 3 people who agreed never to talk about what we just did? And then the third one said, but if he says give me palm wine for my good
That's
meal,
not mentioned.
he hasn't said that we went to steal a goat. So I think I remember this because our next conversation in some way reminds me of this story. So Vice President Kamala Harris comes to Ghana and says she, as Kamala Harris and Vice President of America, believes in the rights of all people. The president responds by saying, the bill in Parliament, the anti-LGBTQ bill in Parliament, the Attorney General has suggested some changes. They've made some changes, but at the end of it, that's where I come in. So there is no law against LGBTQ people in Ghana. Then the Speaker of Parliament comes in and says, Mr. President, please be very careful. It's not true that you are not the one who determines whether this bill will be passed or not. We will pass it. It's almost as if everybody is responding to something that the previous person did not say.
Or perhaps they are responding to the main question from the foreign journalist.
So listen, when we come back, we're going to break this thing down because there is indeed a bill in our parliament, and we need to know how far along we are with that bill, what its implications are on us as a society, and whether indeed these claims that we are being pressured as a nation to pass laws that, or to not pass laws that we as a people will not benefit from. Whether that is true. That and more when we come back. But first, ingredients. Feel the love in every bite of excellently savored and sizzled food. I like that, sizzled food. Hey. If you're working in Accra or Tema, call Lunch Avenue on 0558 502 206 to order fresh, home-cooked and nutritious meals. Lunch Avenue. Tasty, yummy and healthy. Now, every time we eat, food and sugars are trapped between our teeth, leading to tooth decay, gum disease, and in some cases, foul breath. What you really need every morning and night is to brush your teeth with Pepsodent Cavity Fighter. It's got profluoride and microcalcium ingredients. It will seal the tiny and invisible holes in your teeth and prevent cavities, keeping your teeth strong and your mouth healthy. So, Pepsodent Cavity Fighter, maximum cavity protection, 10 times stronger teeth is what you get. Now, you better trust Pepsodent because they've got 25 years educating people to brush day and night. They are recommended by the Ghana Dental Association, and they want you to try the Pepsodent Charcoal and the Pepsodent Charcoal White, which will gently polish away tooth stains and naturally restore your bright smile with a fine blend of activated charcoal and lemon. Also try Pepsodent Herbal, which is formulated from carefully selected natural extracts and uniquely blended herbs. It will repair, protect gum tissue while giving you strong teeth. Buy Pepsodent at any shop near you or call the customer care center toll free on 0800 2000 30. Always remember to brush your teeth in the morning and before you sleep at night. Pepsodent, every smile matters. Now, if you missed out on January's admission, don't worry. Heritage Christian University College is offering you the opportunity to join the April 23 intake. Now, this is a university set up to provide a missing link in tertiary education through conviction, character development, creativity, compassion, and community. Since 2018, the university has given over 300,000 Ghana cedis as startup grants to a number of its students to start their own businesses through Startup Challenge. And they build a technology environment in which you don't need to buy books before you can study. All you need is your laptop. HCC is at Amasaman behind the Olympic Stadium. They are affiliated to KNUST, accredited by G-Tech. You can do a BBA program with accounting, marketing, human resource management, banking and finance, or business info technology management options. You can do a BSc in information technology, BSc in information security, or a Bachelor of Theology. Professional courses like ICA, CIMG, CIHRM, ICM, and media short courses are available as well. And this is an institution that is unique because of its entrepreneurship training with financial support. They have a one student, one laptop policy. Terms and conditions apply. There is an affordable and flexible fee structure, and you could get a scholarship if you qualify. You can call 054 7777